This is impossible. You lied to me. Who is he? Tell me the truth.
I am the father. You need to leave.
The doors slammed open as Ethan roared through the maternity ward, shouting that he was going to reclaim what was his. His voice bounced off the walls like a storm that refused to die. But when he burst into the delivery room and saw his ex-wife giving birth while a powerful CEO stood beside her, steady and protective, Ethan froze as if someone had ripped the fire right out of him. Ethan entered the hospital fueled by a rage so loud it drowned out the gentle hum of machines and the comforting whispers of nurses. His footsteps thundered through the corridor, echoing like a warning signal the staff wished they could ignore. Anger twisted in his chest, each breath sharper than the last. Rainwater still clung to his clothes, dripping onto the pristine floor as he marched forward, leaving a trail of muddy defiance behind him. He believed he had every right to be there. He believed he had unfinished business. But belief is not truth, and anger is not ownership. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, the storm lived inside him. Nurses exchanged uneasy glances as Ethan shoved past the reception desk, demanding to know where Lena was. Voices trembled around him as they pointed him toward the maternity wing, partly out of fear, partly out of a desire to get him away from the waiting room before he frightened the families gathered there. Ethan's hands curled into fists as he moved through the double doors, his mind filled with old bitterness and false entitlement. He had not seen Lena in months. Not since the night she told him she was done begging for respect, done waiting for promises he never kept, done living inside a shadow shaped by his selfishness. He never thought she would actually leave him. And yet she did. Tonight, hearing she was in labor ripped open wounds he had refused to let heal. He convinced himself she owed him an explanation. He convinced himself she couldn't be having a child without him. But beneath all that furious noise lived a truth he refused to face. She had found someone who treated her the way she always deserved. As he stormed down the hallway toward room 14, nurses hurried to keep up with him, trying gently to calm him, to remind him this was a place of life, not conflict. But reason slid off him like water on stone. He slammed into the delivery room without, knocking and everything inside him shattered. Lena lay on the bed, surrounded by medical staff, her face glowing with sweat and effort, fighting through the waves of pain with a courage Ethan had never witnessed nor appreciated. Her eyes squeezed shut as the doctor encouraged her through another contraction. Her breath trembled, but her spirit held steady like a mountain refusing to fall. Standing right beside her, sleeves rolled up, tie discarded, hair slightly tousled from worry, was Julian Howell, the CEO whose name carried weight in every boardroom in the city. The man Ethan once insulted to his face. The man he mocked for being too gentle, too composed, too polished. The man he dismissed as someone who would never understand Lena. Yet there he was, holding her hand, supporting her through every wave of pain, standing guard over her like she was the most valuable soul on earth. Ethan froze where he stood. Julian turned his head slightly, his expression sharpened by focus, love, and a warning so silent yet so powerful that even Ethan's fury stalled at the sight of it. Ethan noticed the 3 monitors, 3 heartbeats, 3 names written on the whiteboard, 3 cradles waiting in the corner. Triplets. His breath hitched. His throat tightened. Every muscle in his body turned to stone as he finally realized the truth. He had fled from. Lena wasn't building her future without him. She was building a family with someone else. Someone steady. Someone who stayed. The room buzzed with urgency as another contraction gripped Lena. Her body tensed. Her hands trembled, yet she held firm to Julian, as if he anchored her to life itself. Julian whispered to her softly, no quotes, but his tone flowed like calm water soothing a burning fire. His voice was steady, grounding, filled with a devotion Ethan had never offered her even in their best moments. The first baby arrived in a cry, so sharp and beautiful that even Ethan felt his anger stumble backward. The nurses moved with practiced ease, cleaning the newborn, checking vitals, wrapping the tiny life in warmth. Julian reached out with trembling hands to hold the infant, and in that instant, his face softened with a love so deep it radiated across the room. Ethan had never looked that way at anyone. He swallowed hard, shame clawing at his chest as he watched a future unfold that was nothing like the life he once gave Lena. She looked up at Julian, exhausted yet grateful, a smile ghosting across her lips even in the middle of her pain. The second baby arrived minutes later. The room brimmed with emotion. Julian kissed Lena's forehead with a tenderness that made Ethan feel like an intruder in a story he no longer belonged to. And then came the smallest of the three, the fighter. The tiny newborn with clenched fists and a cry that defied its fragile body. Nurses exclaimed softly in awe. Lena sobbed gently. Julian's eyes filled as he reached for the child. Ethan couldn't breathe. He had stormed into the hospital ready to fight, ready to claim, ready to confront, but what he found was a truth so raw he could no longer hold his anger. He had lost Lena not to another man, but to his own absence, his neglect, his pride, his failure to love her the way she deserved. Julian finally turned to face Ethan fully. Their eyes met across the room. There was no gloating in Julian's gaze, no triumph, no mockery, only a silent promise, a promise to protect Lena and the babies with a strength Ethan never chose to give. Ethan's shoulders slumped as the truth pressed down on him. His fury drained from his body like water leaking from a broken vessel. A nurse gently approached him, her voice soft as she guided him toward the door. Ethan didn't resist. His steps dragged as he backed away, taking one last look at Lena, glowing, strong, loved, complete. She didn't need him. She had found someone who stood by her. Not above her. As Ethan exited the room, the soft cries of the triplets filled the air behind him, blending into a melody of new beginnings he was no longer part of. He stepped into the hallway, the weight of his past settling over him like a quiet storm. Behind him, Lena and Julian shared their first moment as a family, a moment born not from anger, but from love, healing, and respect. Ethan walked into the rain, and for the first time, he let it wash away the anger he had carried for years. Inside room 14, life began. 3 tiny heartbeats, strong and synchronized, a new chapter written without him.